Hi Taurus, welcome to your week ahead tarot scope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. Your key to the week this week is the Devil card. Now, if you saw your month ahead reading, I actually did say to you in that I feel like this week specifically was going to be you breaking a bad habit. Now, remember, the Devil card can represent addictions, it can represent obsessions, it can represent things that we are clinging to unnecessarily. And I really do feel that this week you are breaking a habit in some way, shape or form. This is you letting go of or releasing something that's held you captive or held you bound in a way. Now, the thing that I often say to people when it comes to addictions is everything stems from a choice, right? Yes, all right, maybe your body craves whatever it is, if it's a substance or a food or whatever. But the original choice to pick that thing up, it was a choice. So if you can choose to pick it up, you can also choose to put it down. And just as I've talked about this, one magpie has literally just come to sit on the thingy by my window. Good morning, Mr. Magpie. Where's your wife? Now, that being said, this is a week for you to really dig into. Like, if you can't think of something off the top of your head at the moment, it will probably reveal itself over time. But in all four of these sectors of your life, in some way, shape or form, you're likely to be releasing something this week or letting go of a bad habit. Maybe you work too much, maybe you talk too much, maybe you eat too much, maybe you spend too much, maybe in your love relationship, you're not really as present for your partner as you can be because you're working too much. Do you see what I mean? All right, so before we start, as always, I would like to bless my deck of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. For your actions and options this week, you've got the Knight of Cups. So your actions and options, this is about what you do and it's also about what's available to you. This week, you are going to be offered something, and I want you to take a minute when you're offered this thing, whether it's a job, whether it's an invite, whatever it might be. This week, I want you to take a minute, pause and ask yourself, do I already have enough on my plate? All right. The reason I say this is because the Knight of Cups represents solid offers. And I kind of get the feeling that maybe for some of you, this has been a problem. It's like, you can't say no because you've got FOMO. It's like, oh, well, you know, I want to do this and da-da-da. And, you know, if you try to do everything, you end up doing nothing. Now, the other thing that I'll say to you with this as well, this week, where like you might catch yourself overextending. This is a week where you need to check yourself. Am I giving too much? Am I doing too much? Am I stopping somebody else being able to do for themselves what I know they can do for themselves? But they won't because I'll do it for them. This is a week to really check yourself, Taurus, because maybe this is the bad habit. All right. So there's something here this week when it comes to your actions that you're breaking. It's like, okay, yeah, you know what? I always offered to do this and then I'm swamped and I haven't got any time to do anything else. This might be a week where you say, actually, no, you know what? I can't do it. I'm really sorry, but you're going to have to do that for yourself. For your communications and conversations, you have the Judgment card. That's an interesting mix, right? So the Judgment card, in terms of your communications, there are going to be some very deep conversations this week, right? Don't expect anything surface level when it comes to communication, when it comes to conversation, when it comes to your work especially, and your professional life or sphere. Do expect some very not, you know, horrible or deep, not horrible, but just very deep conversations, potentially very profound conversations as well. This might also show you, like through the conversations that you have this week, someone might actually end up inadvertently revealing to you where maybe your belief structure or your thought patterns or your thought processes are actually the thing that's stopping you from getting ahead. So let's say, you know, someone says to you, oh, you know, you always do that. Like you always put yourself down when someone gives you a compliment. Why do you do that? It could be, you know, maybe your boss comes to you and says, oh, you know, you're always taking on other people's stuff. You're always taking on more work and, you know, you're getting stressed about it. And it's like, it might not actually register to you, but this week you're having that realization. For those of you that are studying or in some form of academia, This could be where an old idea, thought process, or belief really shows itself. It might also be, and we all have them, right? This is something that it doesn't matter how spiritual you are. If you're incarnated as a human being, you are a human being, and you're going to have biases, prejudices, all the rest of it. We try not to. We try to cleanse ourselves of those things because, you know, ultimately they're not really necessarily good things to have. But this could be, maybe you're given an essay title and you're like, I'm not writing that. Why not? I'm not asking you to do it. I'm not asking you to agree to it. But this could also, maybe you get a grade back and the teacher says you completely missed the point, right? You've gone off on this massive tangent about why it's not this and and actually, I didn't ask you to agree or to disagree with it. I asked you to discourse on it. This happened to me once when I was in performing arts school. I say performing arts school, I was at college studying performing arts, and I went in for something and my teacher was like, you completely missed the point, Raf. You completely missed the point. And when I read it back, I was like, oh damn, girl, you judgmental as f-. So right, like let this be that thing that reveals to you where your thought processes or even your belief structure is actually way too rigid. For those of you that are employed by somebody else, I wouldn't be surprised if some form of dirt is dished this week. Not specifically necessarily on you, but it's like some piece of information comes out and I kind of get the feeling it's going to send a few ripples through the thing. Now, through the workplace. So just be aware of and prepared for that. For those of you that are business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or people that work for themselves, I would give yourself some breathing space this week to really ask yourself, where is it that you are? Like if you found yourself kind of a bit overwhelmed, or maybe that you're flapping about or there's too much, this week you're going to understand why. And it might be through a really deep conversation with a friend, with a colleague, with a partner even. There's something this week that's going to be highlighted to you about the way that you work. And you're going to be like, okay, that's what needs to be adjusted. And it may be a bad habit, or maybe it's something that maybe it's a way of working that you're holding on to that you realize actually, yeah, I always do this like this. Why do I do that? It's not helping. For those of you that are retired and no longer working, I wouldn't be surprised if you are called on to assist with a teenager this week. It's likely to be a water sign teenager, potentially a Scorpio. So if you have water sign teenagers in the family, etc., they are likely to need your help, your input, or maybe just somebody else to speak to besides a parent. For for your love and relations, you've got the Hierophant card. So this is a card of marriage. What's interesting to me is, if you haven't seen the weekly general, please check it out. Because there's just some themes here that I'm kind of looking at and I'm like, this could also be, for some of you, maybe this is addressing a relationship. So if you're partnered, married, or in long-term commitment, this could be addressing something in a relationship that has been a problem, that's kind of been a bit like the elephant in the room. It's like nobody's really wanted to talk about it because we know it's a problem, we know it's there, but it just kind of sits in the corner of the room and it goes unsaid. This could be a week where you heal something fundamental in your relationship, providing you're willing to have those very deep conversations. This could also be, for a lot of you, where some bad habit that the relationship has been in is kind of revealed to you, and you end up having like a really deep, very profound conversation with your significant other that actually really does mend things. For those of you that are single, if you are meeting someone this week, the beauty is they're seeing you as you are, warts and all, as the saying goes, and they're kind of not really deterred by it. The thing that I will say to you is this person may either be very traditional to the point of rigid. Now, you can be that as well. So this is something that you might need to look at. This person could also be from a very religious background, or a very sort of, establishment-based kind of upbringing, so that's something to consider as well. Just be mindful. It's going to be an interesting week for relationships for you guys, for sure. Not in a bad way, but you know, it could be very deep, it could be very intense, because relationships is not just about your intimate one-on-one partner. It's about your partnerships with your relationships with your family, your relationships with the world, right? And you've got the Hierophant and the Judgment card. I wouldn't be surprised if you're having very big conversations around religion, spirituality, all of those kinds of things this week. And I will say, there's a few things that come up here because you've got this, and there is one theme in these cards that I can't really ignore. And the reason being is because as I keep looking at them, I keep seeing one card that has been very prominent over the course of this week, and that's the Temperance card. If you haven't seen it, please check out the weekly general, because there appears to be something happening in the world of religion, spirituality, etc. And the reason this is so important and so relevant is, if you haven't seen my 2023 numerology video, check it out. I did say that next year, religion, spirituality, all of those things are going to be very much in the public eye. And the last 3 months of the year tend to be where the heads up around what the next year is going to bring you. So I'll be paying attention to this stuff on the wider world stage for sure. Now, when it comes to your money and materials, you've got the Four of Swords. With the Judgment card and the Devil card, I'm gonna say this to you: put a freeze on your spending this week, unless you absolutely have to buy, like obviously shopping for the house or, you know, all of those sorts of stuff, then yes, absolutely. But other than that, put a spending freeze on yourself this week, all right? Like, don't use money, things, food, whatever it might be, to escape this week. Pay attention to it, because it might be revealed to you, actually, you're overindulging through food, you're overindulging through spending, whatever it is, it will be revealed to you today, this week. When it comes to your physical health and vitality, the Four of Swords is your kidneys. So if you're like a big drinker, or you imbibe a bit too much, this could be a week where you really feel it in that space. I'm not a doctor, I can't give you medical advice, but just something to be, this would be a really good week to abstain from whatever it is that you know is a little bit of a vice for you. When it comes to those of you that are, when it comes to your home and environment, this would be a really good week to chill, to rest, recuperate, to relax, to regroup, to refocus. This is a really good week for that kind of thing. With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic week. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.